Hello and welcome to the Unstoppable Indians. Every week we take a journey into the life of an outstanding Indian, a person whose talent, acumen or moral example is transforming India. The best, the finest from every field join me, Manvi Dhillon, on this show to share their life story, their journey to success, some of the knocks along the way, what made them get up and keep going, what makes them an unstoppable Indian. My guest today is a phenomenal percussionist, a maestro of the tabla, an outstanding musician. The contemporary world music movement wouldn't be what it is without him. He is the one and only Ustad Zakir Hussain. You cannot separate rhythm from the man. Thank you so much for joining me on the Unstoppable Indians. It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to be here, Manvi. Thanks for having me here.
Percussion is thrilling even for somebody as ignorant as me. And the fascinating thing about percussion is you can find it in everyday life. Where do you get your inspiration from?
Oh my God, every day there's something to look at as you're walking the streets or driving or just looking out the window, and there's something that inspires you, a bird flying or some rhythm of a motorcycle going or anything. And so there's rhythm in nature. The time cycle, the divine world, whatever you might call it, is based on rhythm and time. Whether you go from Shiva's Damru or Lord Ganesha's Pakawaj and so on. So the inspiration is everywhere you look, and it just depends on knowing what you're looking for. And for me, it comes from teaching a student, for instance, just seeing him or her do something that I had not imagined would be possible, because it's just that person thinking of it and doing it and giving me an insight into something new, or playing with a new musician who I'd never played with before, and therefore having to alter the way I play, and in doing so discovering something different.
And all of that is inspiration.
Absolutely, it is.
I could attempt so many descriptions of the way you play the tabla, but how would you describe yourself?
Well, let's see, I take a shower, brush my teeth, whatever.
The tabla.
Well, it's all preparation, getting ready to get down to doing the business. But for me, tabla is something that I play all along. It's not something that I get on the stage and I do. It's part of me. It's a living, breathing, what you may call a bug that's inside of me, and it travels with me, and it lives with me, sleeps with me, whatever. And so when I'm going to go play a concert, it's already in motion. The whole preparation, the thinking of who I'm playing with, or what did I do with him last time, what were the rhythms like, and then the rhythms coming through, and suddenly the hands kind of moving or hitting or doing all that thing, and the mind is thinking of these patterns that I might introduce because we did something last time, and this might be an interesting connection onwards, and so on. So that's the preparation, lining my own kurta before the concert, just focusing on it and focusing on the journey towards that culmination, which is actual performance. So it's all the part of it.
How much of it is intuition? How much is experience? Because now you've got so many years of experience of accompanying, collaborating with so many people. Does intuition still play a big role?
Intuition plays a big role, because our music is not what you may call something that's fixed from A to Z. It's not, okay, you're going to start this way, do this, do this, do this. No, there's a basic outline there, but most of it is spontaneous. It's something that you would introduce an idea onto the stage, and other musicians would take it and interact with you on that idea. So there's a fair bit of uncertainty as to what would happen. And because of that, intuition plays an important role in it. What is the audience feeling? What is my fellow musician feeling today? And does he like this? Would he like that? Would the audience respond well? All that mixes in, and you kind of come up with an idea that appeals to everyone.
And therefore adaptability as well is a big virtue.
Intuition, adaptability, creative, spontaneity, all that stuff is all part of it.
It's unusual for a tabla player. And when I say unusual, clearly times have changed, but for a tabla player to perform solo, to accompany a vocal recital, to accompany a dance performance, and yet you've comfortably straddled all of those worlds. Coming back to the fact that, do you thrive in straddling
Oh, I did.
all those worlds?
I was lucky. I had an early start, so it helped me over the years. When I started playing on stage, there were these senior musicians performing, and those musicians were the one who I grew up watching, playing with my father. So there was already some material there for me to absorb and analyze and sort of include in what I was going to do. And starting with that, then obviously it became very important to interact with the same musicians who then pointed the way to other things for me to do. And that allowed me to be able to interact with the musicians who were coming along later on. And so I was very lucky. Early in my life I started, so over the 45 or 46 years I played with 3 or 4 different generations of musicians, and that has allowed me to grow as a musician and learn as a musician.
And I want to go back to the beginning and your initiation to tabla. And correct me if I've got this wrong, but when you came back from the hospital a few days old, your father, the legendary Ustad Allah Rakha, whispered the notes of the tabla in your ear, and that was when your initiation began. Just
yeah,
a few
it was like,
days
okay,
old.
you have no choice, buddy. This is it. For him, his music was his puja, his prayer, and it was important for him that that message was passed on. And since I was the first son in the family, and in those days, son got the nice things given to him, and so I was the one who was going to receive the knowledge, and he needed to start me early. And one of the reasons was he was not well. He was very sick, and it was presumed that he would not be with us long. So, and he also gets taught that. So as soon as I arrived from the hospital, 2 days old, and instead of singing azan in my ear, he started singing rhythms and said that this is his azan, his prayer, and that's what he wants me to have. So my training began, and it lasted through the year or two that I was holdable in the arm. And I don't know, maybe that was also a medicine for him, because over those 2 years he also started getting better as he would sing rhythms to me.
It was a healing process.
It was a healing process for him and a learning process for me. And by the time I was 3, information was already in the subconscious mind. So when I started to actually put my hands on the tabla, the material kept emerging from God knows where it was. And so half the job was already done. And so by the time I was 7, I was on stage.
But there's also a great deal of study and a great deal of discipline that goes into it. Do you remember what those early years were like in terms of the rigorous discipline? And
well, that didn't start until after my first public performance. Till then it was okay, okay, kid, no, look cute, doing well, that kind of stuff. And then once I was 7, the serious question was put forward, do you want to do this? Like really do this? And I was like, yes, of course. I had no clue what I was getting into. And the next thing I know, I'm being woken up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and my father sitting down with me like this, and we talking tabla, talking rhythm, talking tradition, talking just divinity, everything to do with life, from about 2 or 3 in the morning till 6:30 in the morning. That was our routine. I loved it. I looked forward to it, just waiting for him to do it.
And it never overwhelmed you?
No, he was God. He was somebody I wanted to be, to emulate and make happy. And I wanted to do that. I was looking forward to it. And so it was that time with him that was a very, very special time. For 4 or 5 years, that happened. From age of 7 till about 11 and a half.
And your first concert booking was at an incredibly early age.
Well, 7 was when I first played, but 12 was my first 100 rupee note earned playing tabla. And that was very interesting, because I went with my father to this concert thinking that I'm going to listen to him play. And there was this great Sarod Maestro, Ali Akbar Khan, who was playing a concert, and they tuned the instruments and everything. And when it came time to play, he said, okay, you're on. So I didn't know I was on. So that was the beginning, like Trial by Fire, one of the greatest living musicians of all time, Ali Akbar Khan. So I played with him, and then Ali Akbar Khan, gave me 100 rupees and says, "This is for you," and that is still with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't work anymore because that note doesn't have any value, but it has
a lot
an incredible, more than value can be put to it, value for me.
Did your siblings and you compete for your father's attention?
No, actually, because my younger brothers were much younger than me. Fazal, who's my younger brother, is about 11 years younger to me, and Tawfiq is about 12 years younger to me. So I was more like an uncle. So my father started traveling a lot, and so it was kind of left to me to be able to, inject the idea of playing tabla to them. So I was more like an elder person at home, helping them along, than being an elder brother.
When you look back at all of these incredible experiences, do any of them come back in your memory as trying or difficult, or was it?
No, well, there are times when you're a young musician and you can do no wrong. You don't see that there's any possibility of you doing anything wrong or having a problem. But somewhere along the line, the cuteness of being young wears off. And after that, you are expected to suddenly be a senior citizen in the world of music, and that's hard to accomplish, since you were 12 and now you're 16, and suddenly you have to be 60, and so that's when you start feeling the pressure,
perhaps,
the burden, and it started to happen with me too. I mean, I started to try too hard, or expecting too much and whatnot. And next thing I know, I was actually booed off stage a couple of times. It happened. And but lucky for me, I got asked to go travel to America to play some concerts and stuff. And I went, and I got an assignment to teach at the University of Washington in Seattle. I took that and started concentrating on my music, away from all the critical eyes of all the connoisseurs from here and all. And that kind of saved me from maybe falling into a rut.
And a rebirth in a sense.
and a rebirth in a sense, and it also opened my eyes and my mind to a much more panoramic view of the world of rhythm. I mean, it started to include
the entire world.
World.
You've made such an incredible contribution to world music in that sense. Are there any of those collaborations, those exciting partnerships that stand out as very special in your own mind?
Well, I'm one of those guys who does not have an interaction with the musician and it's done and it's over with and move on.
It's a relationship, and it's current, and it's on today as well.
It's on today as well. So if I'm playing with Mickey Hart of the Grateful Dead, the drummer, we started in 1971 and we are still playing together. And the whole thing is, we are not just limiting our interaction to just me and him. It's expanded to include many great masters, and so we have learned, we have grown along with all these great people. So our relationship has sort of developed over this journey of a rhythm discovery of the planet. Similarly with John McLaughlin, who's a jazz guitarist, and I played with him since 1973, and we've done many albums together, and we're still playing together. We're still friends and family and everything. We vacation at each other's home. It's fun. And again, the same thing in the world of melodic jazz and blues and whatnot. It was a great interaction with him. Through him, I learned to understand Miles or Charles Lloyd or great jazz musicians and jazz, rock, and fusion musicians. So the learning process for both of us was great. Through me, he learned about Ravi Shankar, Ali Akbar Khan, L. Shankar, Subramaniam. I mean, great musicians, Shiv Kumar, Hari Prasad, and so interaction. And so this process is not just get together, make an album. It's a process of getting to know each other's world intimately, so that you can then show proper respect for each other's world and interact in the manner that is required.
And in a sense, You saw that with your father and Ravi Shankar as well.
Oh yes, absolutely. They were so intertwined. I mean, their lives were, sort of together. I mean, for 30 years, they just were not apart. And
their lives, not just their music.
Not their music, their lives, yes. They lived together, they traveled together, they played together, bhaiya this, bhaiya that, and so on. And it was more like that. And it's a family, and only if you do that can you make music that has some substance, that has something that will, how should I say, will survive the test of time.
I want to steer you towards the more mundane perhaps, and that is, sometimes just things like good acoustics, good, resonance of sound can make such a difference to the whole experience.
It most certainly does,
and,
yes.
There is the recording in the interiors of a Berkeley church, which had fantastic acoustics. The reason I ask that is because, as you travel around India, it may vary.
Yeah.
When you perform, does that bother you, or?
Well, over the years we've played in so many different places, and now it's gotten to a point where we revisit a place many times over, and so you tend to know what's going to happen and you get yourself ready for that, and so that's there. But now with today's technology and also getting to the point where I am, it's possible to bring my own sound person with me when I go somewhere, so that person then tunes the room the way it should be for someone like me. And I'm also in a position now to say I won't play in that concert hall, but I'll play in this one. And that's only over the experience, so many years of experience that
have taught you.
For instance, I would rather not play at Carnegie Hall in New York because it's really not good for drums. But I would rather play at Lincoln Center because it's the hall, the acoustics are better for drums. So when somebody asks me to play in New York, I would suggest
Lincoln Center.
Yeah, rather than Carnegie. And but it's great to play at Carnegie Hall, but a different type of music, not necessarily drums and so on. So over the years, you've developed this sense of where you sound good, where you don't, and where you don't sound good, you bring your own sound person ahead of time, who then tunes the room to make sure that everything should be as is. I just recently played at Sydney Opera House, maybe a month ago, with my own group of musicians. And even though it was packed to the gills, about 2,800 people, because the way it's made, it was like playing in the Taj Mahal. Resonance of 16 seconds and so it had to be that the sound guy, Mujib, went ahead of time and arranged with them baffles and things and so on, so that it wouldn't resonate so much, and so the sound would be much more present and people could actually hear what's going on. So now it's possible to technologically overcome these handicaps.
These challenges and these handicaps. The reason I was going down this road is because when we look at the younger generation, say, of Indians, and there is this need to popularize classical music also in the new generation. And when one does sometimes do the concerts work, do more intimate gatherings work.
Indian music is best heard in an intimate gathering, and therefore I look forward to an encounter like that. But it doesn't always happen, and in this
it's
day,
not practical.
And it's also sometimes not practical. Although every year in Bombay I do a show at Prithvi Theatre, which is only a 300-seat place, and we do it without microphones. And that's something I look forward to every year on 28th of February. I do that, and it's simply because I want to be able to sit in that environment and do it. It's also very wrong to presume that Indian music needs to be played in stadiums, because it's not that type of music. In fact, it loses its power. It loses its effectiveness if you put it in a big, huge concert hall of 5,000 seats.
Which brings me to Moment Records. And
I've heard of them.
What was the trigger for the birth of it?
The trigger was basically presenting Indian music in its naked form, as it is supposed to be. In playing LP records or recording in studios, I always found that we were like looking at the watch, making sure that we got it just right, 29 minutes and 58 seconds or whatever. And so we were more concentrating on that than actually having fun interacting with each other. And Indian music is best heard live, when the audience is going wah wah, kya baat hai, and all that, and you feeling inspired and your ego being rubbed just right so you can, you know, do more and more and do better and better. And so I felt that we need to have a company or a record company which could release records of Indian classical music in its entirety, and also would allow the musicians to have a say in how their music is presented. So the musicians are actually the boss in Moment Records, which is the company I formed, and they decide the cover, they decide the liner notes, they decide the photos, they decide what to call it. Everything is theirs. I just give them the office, the manpower, and to do that and finance the project for them to do exactly what they want.
Awards, and I'm struck by the Grammys. You've won one. You've been
I've just got nominated again.
Yes.
This year.
Yes. Does it mean a lot, or
yeah, but this is the 6th nomination for me, and I've won one and 6th time nominated. That's good. For me, the awards are basically, I guess, an affirmation of the belief of my teachers, I would think. You know, I've learned so much from my father. I've learned from every musician I've played with, and you know, if I'm playing with, say, Ali Akbar Khan, and he looks at me and smiles when I do something, that's a great award. That's just a nod. I mean, I may have had twice or thrice with my father after getting home from a concert, and look and say, that was okay. And he had never ever said, that was great, that was fantastic, that was beautiful. But one of the great awards I thought I got was, I was just in the other room, and my father was talking to my mother and in the night, and we had a concert, and I was getting ready to go to bed, and I just happened to hear him say to her, you know, ye ladka, I mean, sometimes he does something and I wonder, where did he get that from? And he just goes out and does something and it comes out and it's just so amazing. Where did he get it? And that for me was one of the greatest awards, to sit with him on stage.
And to get a compliment like that from
him.
This
is just something which to me is the beginning of trying to make my journey towards the horizon. This is not a perfect form. We don't live in a world where you can be perfect. You can make a journey towards being perfect, and it's all about that journey. So for me, getting that nod every now and then from my peers is something that allows me to elevate myself to the next level, and that's the award enough.
Well, all the very best on that journey, and
thank you.
I'm sure it's going to be a fabulous journey. Thank you so much for joining me on the Unstoppable Indians.
It's my pleasure, Manvi.